As I was saying all throughout the last couple weeks, we have a special guest coming on. He's an author. He's written a book about being a roadie. He was a roadie for, I guess like the last however many decades. He's been on the road with a bunch of exciting groups, and we have him on. His book is called Roadie Rage, Tales from the Rock and Roll Trenches. Let me see if this is him right now. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, Tom, it's Craig Bullens.
Hey, Craig.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, of course, of course.
Now, you are a roadie.
Yeah, roadie, guitar tech, drum tech also.
And you have a book out now.
I do, yes, yeah.
Which is called Roadie Rage.
Yeah.
And the subtitle is Tales from the Rock and Roll Trenches.
That's right, yes.
Now, this, I guess I should say up front, just so you know, I have not had a chance to read the book intently. I did have a chance to skim through it this weekend. And
okay.
And so who are some of the groups you've been on the road with?
Well, I started in 77, and that first gig I did was doing drums with Alvin Taylor, who was playing with Bob Welch at the time. Remember Bob Welch?
Sure,
this was around the time of Sentimental Lady.
Mm-hmm.
And we went all over the world, and it's all connections in this world. It's in terms of music, that sort of thing, in bands. And through the Bob Welch thing, I ended up doing some work with Zevon, McGuinn, Clark, and Hillman. Then my big break came as a result from that. I ended up getting the drum tech gig for Don Henley on the Eagles Long Run Tour in 1980.
Okay, and that was kind of the big gig for you.
Yeah, that was like that was sort of the ultimate back then, because those guys were massive then, and just kind of went from there. And I'll tell you a quick story that's in the book that I think is really interesting. And Don was a really, really intense and interesting guy to work for, because he had this really unusual way of setting up his kit, his drums. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like the angles were really unusual, like any kid I'd ever seen before. It just seemed like he couldn't really hit him that well, but of course he always could, and he was great. And it was also my job to swing his vocal mic around, because he sang lead on a lot of the songs.
Sure.
And I'll never forget one night in Philly, I forgot to swing it to him right before the final chorus of Take It Easy, and he threw this drumstick at me. He wasn't mad though, he just wanted the show to be perfect,
mm-hmm.
Because that's the kind of guy he was, Wait, I'm sorry, that wasn't Philly. That was actually in New York, and I remember that because that was the night I met my first wife. That's right, yeah, that's right. She was backstage, and we just kind of hit it off. You know how that goes when you just kind of meet someone for the first time. And
you feel it click.
Exactly, yeah. That was definitely the first time I'd ever had that, and truth be told, I think she was excited to meet someone who had never actually seen or heard of Alien.
Never heard of what?
Alien.
The movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Sigourney and I had kind of this whirlwind courtship after that, and we ended up getting married in early '81. And
wait, your wife? Your wife?
Mm-hmm.
You said it's Alien. So Sigourney Weaver? Are you talking about?
Yeah, my first wife. Yeah.
You're married? Wow.
No, I was married to her. It didn't last long.
Okay.
She was getting really hot, and she was about to do Tiled, and I was about to go out with the Geils Band for the next year.
What was she going to do?
Tiled.
What is that?
The Year of Living Dangerously.
Oh, okay. So it's like an anagram for.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just kind of grew apart, and then we ended up getting divorced in early '83. But I'm way off track now. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So that was not. I saw the Don Henley stuff in the book,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't see the stuff about you meeting your wife at the thing. So that's.
Yeah, I didn't put that in there. I didn't really think that was. I don't know. That's personal life stuff, you know.
Sure.
But,
okay.
But I learned a ton of stuff from Don. You know, I learned a ton about show prep. You know, you wouldn't think a guy like that would retire a ton of stretching before a show, but you know, because the Eagles songs were kind of laid back and that sort of thing. But he'd really hit it getting ready for those shows, and you know, way into yoga, that sort of thing. And you know, it was a real learning experience.
Just kind of seeing how a guy like that takes care of himself.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah. So from that, I went on to the Freeze Frame tour, Geils Band. This was in '81, '82. And oh my God, the stories I could tell about that. Peter Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a scream.
Like what?
Well, like one thing, he'd do this thing where he'd single out one of the road crew every night, you know, and make up this funny story about them.
Yeah.
During that song, "Ain't Nothing But a House Party," you know, has like several big breakdowns in it. You know, and he singled me out in. This is in the book. He singled me out in Austin, Bangor, Maine, Scranton, Ottawa, and Kansas City.
Okay, so those are the nights he said, like, and well, how did he like single you out?
What do you mean?
Like what do you mean single you out?
Oh, he'd just say, hey, you know, this is Craig, and you know, he's a party animal, and you know, if you want any girls, you know, want his key, you know, he had a bunch of fake keys every night that he'd throw out in the crowd, and you know, he's in room 204, that sort of thing. Yeah. Great video game player too.
Peter Wolf.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Asteroids.
Yeah. I should let everybody know we have an author on, Craig Bullins. Is it Bullins or Bullins?
Bullins.
Bullins.
Yeah.
Craig Bullins is on the show. He is a guitar tech and roadie, and his book is called Roadie Rage, Tales from the Rock and Roll Trenches. So that stuff with Peter Wolf, I mean, that kind of... were there wild things that kind of came out of him singling you out on stage like that, kind of calling you out?
Not really, no. No, because the crew was really separate from, you know, from the band in terms of after the show. The crew, that's when the crew really works. You know, so you're loading out while the band is, you know, whenever banging chicks or whatever they're doing. You know, and so I wasn't really taking part in that sort of thing. That's kind of what the joke was, I guess. You know?
Okay.
So from that, I went on to the Neil Young gig. I was super lucky to get that. This was the Trans Tour.
Sure.
83. Which was kind of a very odd tour for him. I'm not sure if you're a fan or not.
That's like when there was the vocoder.
Exactly. Yep.
Entered the picture where he sang that some of those like robotic songs.
That's right. And I was doing some guitars for him, and I was also doing a lot of guitars for Nils Lofgren too, who was on that tour.
Sure.
And that was something else, that tour. And I go into, once again, great detail in the book. You know, Neil wanted a different kind of feel for those shows, and it was real hard to kind of make it flow because it was kind of acoustic stuff, and then, you know, the hard rock stuff, like, you know, the heavy, like a Hurricane stuff, and then that synthy kind of stuff on, you know, on Trans. And I'll never forget the time I handed him his voice synth instead of his harmonica right as they're about to go into sedan delivery one night. Yeah. Oh my God. The look he gave me, I'm not sure what I was more worried about that night, him firing me or the death threats that had been put out against my family.
Well, why? What were death threats from the harmonica incident?
No, something else. My dad's Vince Bugliosi.
Who was that again?
Vince Bugliosi.
The lawyer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's interesting.
He was the L.A. district attorney who prosecuted Manson in '71, which I'm assuming most of your listeners probably know. And I guess that night Manson had sent out these orders that our family was to have been knocked off, and that was kind of the day we were told about it. You know, and,
when you were doing this Neil Young gig.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was I had a police escort for the next week.
No, I didn't see that. I saw the Neil Young stuff, but it really seemed like it was just the stuff about the vocoder and the harmonica.
That and the big pedal board, yeah.
Yeah. But the death threats were not really. It doesn't seem like you went into that.
No, I didn't really touch on that at all because that's my family, and I don't know. It's a rock and roll book. I didn't really think that was something that people would be that interested in.
Well, I mean that is interesting though.
Well,
the idea of a guy being on the road and the Manson fan, but Charles Manson basically putting out a death sentence on him and his family.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean. I'll tell you one thing, that put a massive cramp in my style at that point because I was on the rebound from Sigourney, and I was actually about to get married again, which was going to be a massive mistake. I mean, I should have learned the first time never to marry an actress.
Well, who was the actress?
Shelley Long.
From Cheers.
Yeah.
Real. So you married Shelley. Your wives are Sigourney Weaver and Shelley Long.
Right. We met at this missing person show and just kind of clicked. It was at the Whiskey, and just kind of hit it off. And I mean, it wouldn't have worked. She was getting big at that point, and I was about to go out with the Kinks.
So again, that's not. This is news to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just didn't think it would be of much interest. Because a rock and roll fan's going to buy the book and. What do they care that I have several days worth of missing time on that Kinks tour? What they're.
But that's kind of interesting from a celebrity standpoint.
What, the missing time?
What do you mean with Shelley Long? Like, what do you mean? Like it was you and like you mean like you and her being romantic?
No, no. You know what missing time is? Have you read the Dave Davies book?
No.
That he put out. Well. On this tour that I did with him, the Word of Mouth tour in '84, Dave had this weird experience, and it's well documented in his book, where he made contact with aliens. So he says, and they began talking to him, and I had a very similar experience on that tour, being Dave's guitar tech. I'm not sure if I was sort of, zoomed in on also, but I had several missing days on that tour where I don't know where I was. I have no memory of them. If you've seen that show, the 4400,
yes,
on the USA Network, it's very similar to that.
Really?
Yeah, and I've had that experience probably 2 times a year ever since then, and that was in 1984.
Two times a year.
Oh yeah.
Where you go through what is it like?
I don't know. I mean, say for example, the last thing I remember on that tour, I was in Albuquerque. We loaded out. I got on the bus, went back to the hotel, and it's 2 days later, and I'm in Anaheim on the bus again. I have no memory of what happened.
Of 2 days worth?
2 days, yep.
Wow.
And that still happens to me, yeah. But anyway, Dave's amp, his amp setup was really interesting because he would go from that classic sound, that wah.
Sure.
Back then he actually stuck, I think, knitting needles into his speaker cones to make that, but now he's got this this pretty intense sort of pedal system, that kind of simulates that thing, and he slaves that into a Vox 430, and then into a couple Marshall cabinets. So that's pretty interesting how he gets that sound.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of interesting if you're really into guitar tech stuff, right?
Yeah, are you?
Not particularly. No, not on that.
You don't find that interesting? I mean, you.
Not really.
Huh.
I mean, not personally. Not
right.
that. I mean, I'm sure there are people who do, but I mean, to tell you the truth, personally, the missing time stuff is pretty fascinating.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess I just figured I'd keep my personal life out of this, and
But isn't that the point of writing a book, like about yourself?
I guess I didn't look at it that way. I thought it would be, geared towards rock fans, and I'm actually surprised that you're kind of reacting this way because I was told you were a big rock fan.
Oh, I am a big rock fan.
You don't seem to be interested in that sort of thing. I mean,
but I mean, you're giving me stories that are. I mean, you're talking about an amp sound, and handing Neil Young a vocoder instead of a harmonica.
Right.
And then you're leaving out stories that that I'm hearing about. I mean, again, I skimmed the book. I didn't see any of these though. About being married to Shelley Long and Sigourney Weaver, and the fact that the Manson family, Charles Manson, basically declared a hit on you and your family.
Well, here's a story you can't not love. Okay, are you ready?
Sure.
Are you an REO fan?
REO Speedwagon?
Yeah.
Sure, I like some of the hits.
Okay. Well, their guitar player, Gary Richrath. He's not in the band anymore, but he was with them in their heyday.
Sure.
Loves eclairs. I'm not sure if he still does, but back then, I mean, he lived for a good eclair.
Uh-huh.
And so one day we're at Pine Knob in Michigan, and I go into the band's dressing room. There's no eclairs on the table. I almost lost it. So I start screaming at the hospitality person, and she goes, I guess we must have forgotten them. At this point, I'm about to lose it because I know Gary's going to be so mad that his hair's going to go straight when he sees this stuff. There's nothing there. So I try to get the runner to go out, but he's already left the venue to get this new EQ pedal for Kevin Cronin. So what I have to do is I get one of the stagehands to lend me his car to go into town to get some eclairs.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary is super specific about this stuff. And it's got to be this 8-pack variety.
Of eclair, yeah.
Exactly. So I get into town, it's Labor Day. And almost every place is closed. So I go to this one store, and they have eclairs, but it's in a 6-pack, which is no-go.
Okay, because Gary likes these 8-packs.
Got to be 8-pack, So I'm starting to really sweat because it's like an hour and a half has gone by, and I'm really due back at the venue soon.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I find an 8-pack, and I start heading back to the venue.
Yeah.
Only I'm caught in the biggest traffic jam of all time.
Yeah.
I'm literally sweating bullets just thinking, am I going to make this? Am I going to make this?
Uh-huh.
And this is pre-cell phone days, so no one knows where I am.
Yeah.
So my heart's kind of racing right now just even thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
So
well,
I end up making it back just in time for lunch.
Uh-huh. Wait, lunch?
Yeah.
What do you mean lunch?
What do you mean? I made it back just in time for lunch. They're about to shut down the catering thing.
Well, what time was the show?
Show was at 8:30.
And what time did you actually get back?
3.
Hey, hold on. So what's the whole panic?
Well, I needed to get there before Gary showed up for sound check.
Yeah.
Otherwise he'd be in a real horrible mood all day.
Sure. Well, what time? How soon did you get back before sound check?
I got there at 3, and Gary and the band got there at 5, I think.
It's like you got there with 2 hours to spare.
Yeah. Why?
I mean, that's not that intense.
Why'd you have me on your show if you just don't seem to like any of the stories that I'm telling you?
Well, I gotta say, these stories are a little disappointing.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll page through the book here, and I'll see if I can find something you like here. I did the Crazy Nights tour for Kiss. I was Eric Carr's drum tech.
Okay. Any kind of insane, debauchery stories or anything?
Well, I remember I was helping Eric get his drums in order this one day, and he showed me this really super cool drum rudiment that he came up with, and it's written out in the book. It takes up about 5 pages, and that's worth the price of the book alone, I think.
Of a drum rudiment?
Yeah. It's sort of like a flam paradiddle, but it's got like a little sort of what they call a ruff in there in the middle of it. So it's, no one else did it. Come to think of it, Eric was the guy that bailed me out of jail after I punched out Brian May.
Wow, you got to tell that story.
Well, Brian May was making some remark about my shirt. It was a Firm shirt. Remember the Firm?
Sure, the band The Firm.
Yeah,
okay.
with Paige.
Yeah.
So, And Brian May mentioned something about Jimmy Page, which I thought was insulting. It turns out it wasn't. I misheard it. And I punched him in his face and also in his ass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I ended up spending the night in the hut. And that pretty much put an end to my 8-year intense relationship with cocaine and alcohol.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, this is the kind of stuff that, people... I mean, look, you're talking
That's
about...
That's not in the book either.
Well, that's not in the book. Why?
Why?
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to ask you why.
Okay, well, if you want debauchery, I was on the 88 GNR tour. I was Izzy's guitar tech for a lot of that tour.
Well, before you even waste my time...
Gee, where...
No, yeah. Is this story in the book that you're about to tell?
This is mentioned. I mean, it's not really a story, but basically what it boils down to, I didn't get to see any of it because I got demoted to just truck duty on that tour, so I wasn't even there for the shows or anything. I was sleeping during all of it, so it sounded really wild, though.
Uh-huh.
So there's Iggy Pop after that.
Uh-huh.
He was great.
Give me the juiciest story.
Okay. Well,
that's in the book.
Well, I don't think you're going to find it juicy. I mean, you might find juicy the part that I didn't put in because I didn't think it would be of interest. Okay, but the whole story is this: basically, most people don't know that Iggy plays guitar pretty well, and he's a lefty. And my job was to track down these vintage guitars for him to play.
Uh-huh.
And he loved the look of this '68 Telly that Izzy Stradlin played, but he of course needed a lefty model. So that was a tall order, and I remember spending all of our day off in San Francisco in October of '89, going to all these shops trying to find this lefty version of the '68 Telly. And I found one, but it ended up getting lost because I was almost killed by this falling bridge.
By a falling bridge?
Yeah, remember the San Francisco quake of '89?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, you've probably seen this footage of the car that was cut in half.
Yes.
By the falling pieces of the Bay Bridge.
Uh-huh.
That was me.
That was your car?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was me.
And so that might be the most fascinating story in your book, then?
That's not in the book either.
Why not?
I just didn't think it would hold people's attention.
I gotta say, Craig, you call this thing Roadie Rage. Tales from the Rock and Roll Trenches.
Right.
Which implies something. It implies that the stories are going to have a certain amount of edge to them.
So you're going to tell me that I should probably put the SIP story in.
What is that?
Well, this is back in '90. The tour I did after Iggy was I went out with the Pixies. I was Kim Deal's bass tech.
Yeah.
And I'd gone to Europe to recharge before going out with Jane's Addiction, which was the next tour.
Yeah.
In the summer of '91, and unfortunately the SIP party had other ideas.
What is the SIP party?
I went to Spain, and the Spanish Insurgents Party.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I was kidnapped in Spain by members of their party, and I was held for 5 months against my will.
Yeah, you should have put that in the book. So you were basically held for 5 months as a captive.
Yeah, until the Pope intervened.
So the Pope intervenes in an incident where you're being held hostage, and you don't feel that fits a story.
Not in the context of this book. I mean, do you want me to write in there that I lost 34 pounds and reached unknown realms of consciousness as a result?
You know what? It would have been interesting. Yes, you.
Well, I guess I won't tell you it's not when I was drum teching for Sin Kane on the Rollins Band tour. Jeez.
I just got to say, your book. I didn't know you had these stories in you. I have no idea why you would choose not to tell any of the good ones.
So you want to hear all the kind of salacious sort of nitty-gritty stuff, like about Dave Grohl, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say that would be the kind of thing that anybody would kind of want to hear.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to blow any myths for people, you know what I mean?
What do you mean, myths?
Well, like that Dave Grohl's actually a tall guy.
What do you mean? How is that a myth?
Well, he's not.
Like, how tall is he?
He's 3'11". Why?
Hold on. Dave Grohl, the guy from Foo Fighters.
And Nirvana, yeah.
And Nirvana is how tall?
3'11".
How is he 3'11"?
He is. I don't know what the exact cause of it is. I mean, it's sort of like, he's bigger than like Vern Troyer.
No, I understand that. I'm saying when you watch videos and stuff, he's not that small, though.
Well, a lot. That's a lot of smoke and mirrors, though. You know. See, I didn't want to tell you this stuff.
Well, how?
You're kind of like pushing my buttons to do it.
Well, how on earth is that smoke and mirrors?
I'm just saying a lot of stuff goes into making him look normal. You know, the guys in the band. Whenever the guys in the band are kind of pictured with him.
Yeah.
They're crouching down.
I've seen videos and things where he's standing right next to them.
Well, okay, I'll spill it, all right?
Yeah.
Oh. Are we actually on the air?
Yes, we are.
Well, I'm putting my future as a tech in jeopardy here.
Okay.
So, basically, when he plays on stage, okay, the stage is made of this special material that rises wherever he steps. And, and it raises him up several feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, so whenever he like goes to like another guy in the band, he's just as tall as them because the stage has risen like 3 feet.
To kind of match.
To match the height. And the other guys look like they're right up tight with him, you know, like when you're seeing them play. But they're actually way in the back of the stage.
How is that possible?
It's just lighting and this mirror stuff. I mean, that's where he sinks all his money. He's not that well off. You'd think he'd be super rich. He spends all of it, you know, making himself look like he's 5'10". It's quite sad.
So you're saying that Dave Grohl of Nirvana and Foo Fighters spends all his money trying to make it look like he's 5'10" when he's 3'11".
Yeah.
And he spends all his money on mirrors and things on the stage that rise up.
Right. Which is no knock of his talent. Great songwriter, great singer, guitarist, drummer. It's just that he's not quite as tall as a 10-year-old.
Now, why on earth would you not have put that in the book?
Because I didn't want to, you know, I mean, the roadie's creed is to never, you know, spill the beans, which I've just done, thanks to you. Thank you.
The roadie's creed. Why did you write a book then?
The book was supposed to appeal to rock and roll fans. My book was supposed to be like a fun read, but apparently your criteria, it's not fun, and I need to just spill all the dirt on people. You know? So.
The creed. I mean, I apologize for criticizing a book I'm sure you worked very hard on.
Well,
but
I'd love to get your comment on the the 10-page color fold-out section.
Well, I don't have the book in front of me.
It's my laminate collection.
I don't even remember. To tell you the truth, I skimmed through the book. I must have kind of glazed over when I saw it.
Well, basically, for the listener, it's a 10-page pull-out section, color photo of all my laminates laid out from all my years of touring. There's 263 of them.
Of all the laminates from all the different tours laid.
All my passes, yep.
Yeah.
Everything. Those guys are like my children, you know.
Your laminates are like your children.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're like my children who don't talk back or get kicked out of college for hate speech.
Hate speech?
Yeah.
Wow, so these are your... How many children do you have?
6. No, 8.
You've... Wow, that was a little telling.
What's that?
That you actually forgot 2 of your kids for a second. So, like, what you have? There's a mother somewhere who you had a couple kids with who you've kind of forgotten about.
No, actually, 2 mothers that each had one. Each had one little rat that.
Little rat. So you actually forgot about 2 kids that had 2 different mothers for a second there.
When I remember, I send some dough.
The count in your head.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're just you're a very sad man.
Hey, guess who I was out with last year?
Who?
Green Day.
Yeah. How did that go?
Great guys, and in the book I talk in great detail about how cool the kids of the guys in the band are. They're very cool kids, and I had so much fun playing games with those guys. The little children, we played. We tossed balls around and stuff, and I'm just so glad that those kids remained safe, and I never had to do anything with them like I had to do back in '87.
What did you have to do in '87?
Remember baby Jessica? The baby that got stuck in that well in Texas?
Uh-huh.
I was one of her rescuers.
Really?
Yeah. I'd taken this break from the KISS tour, and I was staying with a friend in Odessa, Texas, and I'd done a little EMS teching, training and stuff.
And you ended up...
Word came that this was happening, and I was one of the first people there. And you've probably seen that picture of me in Newsweek holding her.
Really?
Yeah.
And again, I'm just going to assume not in the book.
Not in the book, no. Why?
Oh, your book, you really, this is a massive miscalculation on your part.
Well, I got to say that I'm not a fan of yours.
Oh, well, good. Then at least it's a two-way street.
Oh, well, then don't come asking for free tickets for System of a Down when they come through.
Oh, okay. I'll try to restrain myself.
Okay. Well, I want to tell you that Volume 2 is in the works.
Volume 2 of your book?
That's right. I got a little sidetracked.
Oh.
But with the trial.
What trial?
The Michael Jackson trial.
How were you involved in the Michael Jackson trial?
I was a juror.
You were a juror?
Uh-huh.
Well, congratulations on a great job on the jury.
Hey, the evidence was not all that convincing.
Well, the evidence, why not all that convincing?
It just wasn't.
You're on a jury where you had people like that maniac old woman.
People like that. So I am people like that. Is that where we are at this stage of the game?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm actually going to say yes.
Oh, okay.
What didn't prove anything to you?
The guy with the white hair. He just rubbed me the wrong way.
The prosecution.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy with the white hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like him.
Who did you like, though?
I liked Michael Jackson.
You liked him?
Yeah.
I
wish I could be his guitar tech.
How did you come in contact with Michael Jackson?
No, just from being a fan of his records and stuff. Huge fan back in the day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't tell them that when they were doing selections.
Oh.
What?
Wait. Yeah, what? What? You know what?
Oh, what?
You know what?
What's your problem? I'm just this vibe I've gotten from you all night. It's like I got to tell the publicist, there that steer the other authors away from this show.
Yeah, well, you know what? If they're the quality of person that you are, please tell your publicist to steer them away.
Oh, well, I'll tell you to steer something.
Yeah.
A specific place.
Yeah. So you're going out with System of a Down right now?
Yeah.
Hopefully I hope you get fired.
Really? Well, I'm not going to.
I will. Well,
guitar tech you'll ever see.
It's what?
I said I'm the best guitar tech you'll ever see.
Oh, I could care less.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay. Well, maybe you'll be caring when I murder you.
Yeah. I'll say that a little louder.
What?
Say this. No, say it again.
I said. It doesn't matter what I said.
No, you said I heard the word.
Look, I wrote
murder.
a book and you didn't. I think there's some jealousy there. I've heard from the people at Bloomsbury that you fancy yourself a writer, and you're just not up to snuff, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not as good a person as you.
Say it again.
I'm not as good a.
Say it.
I'm not as good a person as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't free Michael Jackson from the trial.
Well, dare to dream, my friend. Dare to dream.
Oh, you're sick. You're an awful person.
All right. Well, you're gonna get murdered.
Thank you. I heard that. Go away. Get off my phone. Ugh. Not a fan. Not a fan.